I almost recorded a daily video in February, 27 out of 28 days. Today is officially my day 28, but it is now the 3rd of March. So I ended up taking 3 days off making videos. And I must admit, it felt amazing to remember what it feels like to have an early night and peaceful evening routine. I'd forgotten what it felt like. I've been able to read my book and it's felt simply blissful. But there is some disappointment that I tripped at the final hurdle. One day off and I'll complete it tomorrow quickly turned into 3. Some challenges I've done would have had me start all the way back at day 1 again, but I'm not going to do that, at least not for a while. It feels a bit like limping across the finish line of a marathon, but you know what? I did it. So I am celebrating crossing the finishing line, and I learned a lot along the way. When I started, I had no real plan. I did it on a spontaneous whim. I felt like I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I've done writing challenges before. In fact, I'm currently on almost at day 444 of daily journal writing. I'll be celebrating that milestone in a few days, but video felt like a whole other level. Could I show up and be visible every single day for a month? I've always had a bit of resistance to rigid routines. I like to ebb and flow with the moon and the seasons, but I also know that consistency is key when building something meaningful. So this was an experiment. Could I commit to something daily, even when it felt hard? And I'd like to say some days were easy and some were really tough, but it would be more accurate to say that some days felt like a challenge and others even more challenging. I more often than not left it till the end of the night to record my videos, pushing my bedtime later and later. Some nights until 3, 4, even 6 a.m. one night. There were moments I wanted to give up, but I kept going. One of the hardest moments actually came shortly after the challenge. Someone close to me finally watched a video after I had finished nearly a month of daily videos and gave me advice like, one video a week is enough, and don't script, use bullet points. So that stung, and not because they were wrong, but because I'd already been through so much trial and error, it felt like they just dismissed my efforts. But then I realized this challenge wasn't for anyone else's approval. Okay, perhaps it was for that part of me that is conditioned to seek validation, but really it was for me. It was for me to show up, to experiment, and to grow. And I did. And I'm very grateful, particularly to my husband and my mom, my biggest supporters who saw my efforts and celebrated me every step of the way. Also to various friends and supporters who popped up with messages of interest and loving support. It's a bit like the encouragement you may have felt seeing familiar faces in a crowd, smiling at you at a school performance. Little boosts of morale along the way. One of the weirdest parts was suddenly emailing my community every day when they were used to hearing from me once every few months. If that is you listening to this right now, thank you for your patience and for still being here. But my unsubscribe rate did reflect that. At first, it felt like rejection, but over time, I started seeing it differently. The people who stayed wanted to stay, and that was more valuable than clinging to numbers. Even when I wasn't getting comments or likes, people were watching. Towards the end, some friends and family told me they'd been following along, even though they'd never interacted. And that made me realize that impact isn't always visible, which is kind of ironic in a visibility challenge. Beyond the emotional growth, I also picked up practical skills. I feel increasingly more confident and at ease on camera. I improved my editing skills using Canva. I learned to work with simple equipment, just my laptop, headphones, and a basic editing tool. And after avoiding talking about herbs for most of the challenge, I finally did. And when I did, it felt natural and well received. So I now feel excited to start sharing more herb inspired videos. But let's be real, daily videos was intense. I've realized that I don't need to post every day to be consistent. So moving forward, I'm shifting to something more sustainable. Maybe something like one weekly video and a weekly newsletter. This way, I stay connected without overwhelming my audience or myself. So, if you've been watching, reading, or supporting in any way, thank you very much. This was a challenge, and I'm grateful to those of you who have continued to stick around. Let's see where this next chapter takes us. So, if you enjoyed this challenge, do let me know in the comments or an email response if you're getting this as a newsletter what resonated with you. And if you want to keep following my journey, please do subscribe for my weekly updates on either YouTube or Substack or both. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon.